there's really this underlying fear of, rejection. And so when men are on these platforms, generally speaking, not everybody, there's this sense of, I have to make the first move. I have to go hunting. I have to make sure that I go after her. And that puts a lot of pressure on the man. It also, opens up a stream of bad behavior, because if the woman doesn't respond, it's taken as rejection.
Like the fact that she is just so deeply concerned with the horrible task men have to reach out and craft a message with grammar and all of this, and then ends with, oh yeah, and it makes the women empowered too. We are going to lean in fast and furiously. We already have. We are going to win. We will be the way people meet. What is she giving, like a dictator speech? What the fuck?
Yeah, and
it's giving Trump 2024 speech. That's literally what it's giving. Exactly.
Bitch, what I was trying to say is this situation got me so wet and so dry at the same time. Exactly.
What's up, bitches? Welcome back to another episode of So Wet, So Dry. I am one of your hosts, Autumn, like the season. I'm a wannabe trained sub, and I work in entertainment.
Okay, yes. And I'm your other host, Fiji, like the island, like the water. I have a fetish for looking into corporate company lore, and I work in social media and marketing.
If you guys are new here to So Wet, So Dry, what we do is we explore duality through deep diving topics about sex, relationships, personal identity, all where internet trends and reality collide. We do post polls for every single episode that we put out. So make sure you guys are following us on Instagram at So Wet, So Dry. The O's are zeros. That's where we post the polls, give an opportunity to submit a story. So definitely follow us over there. And just in general, whatever platform you're listening on, please just take a second to subscribe, follow. If you're on, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a rating. If you're on YouTube, definitely drop a comment. Our YouTube fam, bro. Like at this point, we almost have 600 subscribers. And I hope by the time this is out, we've made it. But it's honestly just so exciting for us. It's not even about how, just to think that 600 people subscribed, that's a lot. 600 people in one room, bitch. So we're just excited and grateful. So thank you guys for supporting.
Yes, and today we are talking about the business of dating apps. We are talking about the infamous Bumble marketing campaign. We are talking about how dating apps get you addicted. We're talking about lawsuits, and we're talking about how we should all just get outside and meet people in real life. But before we get into all of that, we're going to start the episode as we always do, talking about what we're so wet and so dry about in this very moment. So I'll go first. Guys, I think I'm going to put the TikTok in here. I think I have to, because it just has me dying. Have you heard of Jasmine Crockett?
Yes.
You know who she is, the Texas representative.
Yes.
Yes?
No. I was thinking of a different Jasmine. Okay, I was thinking of a TikToker named Jasmine. I didn't know her last name.
Okay, she's not a TikToker. Jasmine. She's a representative from the state of Texas, okay? But she's a Democrat, random. There's always been TikToks of her just absolutely destroying everyone in Congress and the House and whatever the fuck they're doing in these hearings. Okay. Anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't even know what this bitch's name is. She's this blonde bitch, super far right, Republican ass white bitch, right? She insulted her eyelashes during this debate, and Jasmine Crockett was waited for a little time to go by, and then she asked the dude, whoever is fucking running shit, she was like, so if I were to talk about someone's bleach blonde, butch built, what is it? Bleach blonde, bad built, butch body.
Bleach blonde, bad built, butch body. Bleach blonde, bad built, butch body. Bleach blonde, bad built, butch body. Butch body, butch body, butch body, butch body.
Was would that be cause to be stricken from the record? I don't know. So pretty much she came at this bitch hard, and now a bunch of people are making songs to it. She patented it.
And this week, I'm so wet about one of my favorite YouTubers is Jenn McAllister. She's been online for a really long time. And she's like gay, whatever, love her. But anyways, so she plays this game that's called Total Drama Island. And it's on Roblox. And you go in and, like, there's a chat. Like, you can talk to people. And there's, like, a bunch of challenges. And it's kind of like Survivor. Like, after the challenge, like, someone gets voted out. And it's like that show that was based on that show, Total Drama Island. That was kind of, like, not really before our time. But, like, it was around or whatever. But anyways, so I played this game, bro. And, like, it's so crazy. I was horrible at the challenges, so I kept getting voted out, and then I had to, like, start back and go over. But it's, like, literally so fun. But, like, the way Jenn plays it, like, she's on Twitch, so she has, like, her chat. So she's, like, actually trying to start drama. Like, when I played it, I, like, barely said anything. Like, but it's just so fucking funny, like, the way that people are in these games online.
You play against real people?
Yeah.
So like, are your characters, like, people looking, like Sims?
Yeah, like, when you start the game, like, if you, like, pay money, you can, like, pick a character. But otherwise, you, like, most people just do the automated generator one. So, like, if you're a hot-looking guy, it's, like, she'll, like, make it farther. Like, the girls flirt with her. But if you're like, there's one bitch that has braces and just looks super nerdy, and like everyone's always like,
bitches like rock the braces though. I remember when Coyle Ray had braces, she looked good with them. So
low key, but I just think it's so funny, and I love her YouTube, and I'm like, I love when someone like a gamer online plays a game and makes it so fun that like I want to download it. Yeah. And like it's really only happened with like The Sims.
The marketing got you. I mean, well, I don't know.
Because she's just so funny. Like she's really sarcastic, dry humor, and like the fact that she's gay too. Like I'm definitely have a crush. Like you guys know how it goes. But anyways, yeah, super wet about that.
Okay. For dry, I'm very dry about just all the Diddy shit that's going on. Specifically how they dropped the video, like, and people just are still not believing for some reason, and the fact that they even had to drop that video,
I know,
like, I just feel so bad for Cassie and like all the women, like everyone involved. It's just like so fucked up, and like as someone who's like survived domestic abuse, like it's just so triggering, and it's on my timeline constantly, and I feel like at this point I should just block the shade room. But I also do want to know, like, what's going on sometimes because, you know, it helps with, like, podcast episodes and, like, what's going on in the media. But it's just, like, the number of times I've opened my phone on Twitter or Instagram and that comes up, I'm just like, I literally cannot. I don't want to like, as if the allegations and people, like, arguing that he didn't do all of that isn't, like, triggering enough to actually see the video of it is just too much. So, I don't know. I don't know when we're going to start believing women. Like, can we just believe women and can we just, like, stop? I don't know.
I know. And that's, like, honestly, like, one of the worst parts of being on the internet. Like, the whole, like, when you open your phone, like, you don't have any control over the algorithm, what it's going to show you. And, like, sometimes it's great and you find something amazing, but sometimes it's really not.
And you can, like, mute words. Like, I know I have the ability to block accounts, mute words. Like, I could do that.
You can mute words?
You can mute
TikTok?
words. You can mute accounts. Like, all. On TikTok too.
I know you can mute
accounts. But Instagram, like all of that. But like just because of like the nature of what we do, I don't know. I like to stay up with the news. So it's my own fault.
I know.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's not your fault, but I get what you're saying. It's like some things you want to, but yeah, it's tough. I know. It's like literally horrible. I deep dived it right at the beginning, and like the fact that it's still like carrying, like it's exhausting. My so dry is just that my delusional crush put out a song and it's really good. So I'm just like, okay, cool. Like at this point, I'm going to put in my application to be a fangirl. Like maybe she'll let me have that title.
Why don't you be a background dancer?
I know. Like just notice me, bitch. Like I have talent I could bring to your artistry. But no, the song is, did you listen to it or you just
I have listened to it. It's not really like my vibe, but like.
It's not my vibe either. It's just her. Like, I just think, and I honestly
get it, because, yeah.
Yeah, so, not too
I mean, you have the perfect reason to DM her, though. You could be like, I love your song.
That song. Yeah, and she's like, oh, thanks, boom, and that's it. Like, no.
I mean.
But yeah, I've thought about it. I definitely have thought about it. I would be like, this song needs more love, like, because.
You could repost it on your story and.
I know. I'm just like, she already knows I'm desperate. So it's like at this point, like, I'm either going to go full in, like just play into it, or just like never again. And I'm kind of at the never again, but it's fine. So as Fiji said, today we are talking about the business of dating apps. And honestly, like the biggest takeaways from all of this at the end should be we all need to get the fuck outside. So we are going to like end with that too. We're going to talk about, you know, the infamous Bumble case and controversy. But we are going to start with just like a brief history of matchmaking and just give you guys some research. So this article we found said, historically, in many cultures, parents would request the assistance of a matchmaker in finding a suitable spouse for their child. The job of the matchmaker was important because dating and free choice of a marriage partner was not allowed. For centuries, the matchmaker's job was to check the ethnic identity and compatibility of the proposed couple. The matchmaker was generally paid an agreed upon fee or a percentage of the dowry. In the history of love and marriage, it is fair to say that the majority of the world's past relationships were in some form matched. Whether it was at the hands of your parents, your church, or your peers at college, we have been socially guided down a certain relationship path. When the boy meets the right girl for him, we say the couple makes sense, meaning their families, their spiritual beliefs, their financial background, and educational levels are somewhat equal. The history of matchmaking continues to be rewritten as we modern matchmakers continue the honored tradition. That was straight as fuck, but anyway.
Yeah. So this info is actually from AtlantaMatchmakers.com. So like they are a matchmaking business. And I just wanted to note that there's like the industry of matchmaking has been going on for like a very long time. And it usually has to do with like they said, religious beliefs, ethnic backgrounds, social status, economic value, all of those things. It wasn't really as much about love. That became more of a thing like more recently. But because of like all those criteria to match people up, that's usually what like traditional matchmakers today do, like Indian Matchmaker on Netflix, and there's a bunch of other ones, reality shows, like all of those types of things, like Married at First Sight, like
Yeah, I know, like those exploratory ways of like really finding someone. But it's like, I just watched a movie the other day and this girl was like, I don't believe in marriage, like look at how marriage was started. Like it was a business. It was for this and that. Like it wasn't for love. Like we as humans like turned it into that, I guess, over time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like couples have always kind of been like turned into this economic thing and built to like make you get power, all
taxes.
Of that stuff. Yeah, taxes, everything. So love became more of a thing more recently. But now I want to talk a little bit about the history of dating apps. So between 1995 and 1999, American entrepreneur Gary Kremen helped pioneer the internet dating industry with the launch of the first modern dating website, Match. The site matched users based on answers to a wide variety of questionnaires. Match also became one of the most recognizable domain names of its time after earning over 100,000 users in the first 6 months. This allowed the site to transition from their free advertisement-based system to a monthly subscription-based model. So the early dating sites were very much kind of based on this old matchmaking criteria, or the ones you see today where it matches you up based off of like height preferences, like religious beliefs, all of those. Like you answered a long questionnaire and it was usually on the computer. So following the massive success of Match was eHarmony, very similar to this. Clinical, yeah, remember all the commercials?
Yes.
Clinical psychologist Neil Clark Warren aimed to unite compatible people through scientific methods. The site finds applicants suitable partners based on 32 dimensions of compatibility. The service essentially made the first move for their users by providing a list of matches specifically curated by the company to each user. Then we're going to skip some history and we're going to go all the way to 2010 and 2014. So in this time, Tinder and Hinge were released in 2012, with both applications boasting never before seen features and different points of interest. The most unique feature that Tinder offered users was the ability to swipe left or swipe right on potential matches for a faster rate of viewing. Tinder was the more popular of the two and is now the #1 dating application in the United States. Hinge had a different take on dating applications, trademarked as the dating app designed to be deleted. We've all heard that.
Bullshit.
Yup. Hinge focused on relationships built around desired interests or behaviors through an algorithm designed to match users with the, quote, most compatible individuals. This algorithm was actually recognized as the Gale-Shapley algorithm, which is a Nobel Prize winning algorithm. So a couple other things to note. Grindr was actually the first location-based dating app. So it was the first like mobile where you kind of had a radius of people. But Tinder was the first one to gamify it with the swiping. So this is why it appealed a lot more to younger people versus eHarmony and all of those things. You really had to, like I said, like sit down, fill out questions. Like you were probably divorced, you were older, you really wanted this partnership. Versus when Tinder came out, they marketed a lot more to like young people. And it was, the product was actually very much based off of a game. So.
Yeah. Of course it was. It seems like one.
Exactly. So a little bit more, we're going to get into Whitney Wolfe Herd, and we're going to talk about her quite a bit in a little bit. But she founded Bumble just months after resigning as the vice president of marketing for Tinder in 2014. The application saw success early on because of its female-first messaging policy combined with Tinder's swiping method. And what Herd described as the, quote, feminist dating app, Bumble only allowed female users to message first in heterosexual matches. This concept propelled Bumble into the position of the second most popular dating application used today. So we're going to come back to this whole idea of like feminist app and like also the lawsuit with Match and Tinder and everything that happened with them. But before we get into all that, we did ask you guys what dating app is your favorite. You want to read our results?
Yes. So 68% of y'all said Hinge, 15% said Tinder, 9% said Bumble, and then 7% said other. So other could be like Raya, Grindr, OkCupid.
Yep.
I'm like her, the lesbian one.
Tammy.
Yeah. So there's
Black.
a bunch.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch.
But it doesn't surprise me at all that Hinge one. Hinge is definitely my favorite as well. Do you think Hinge is your favorite too?
Yeah, Hinge was the only one that I had when I had dating apps. I had Tinder like a while back. I feel like in early college, Tinder was the only one I used. And then like later, as I got a little older, I feel like Hinge. I never really used Bumble though, honestly.
Yeah, for me, like I definitely had a Tinder, but Bumble was definitely my thing. Like early college, like that's how I met like a lot of girls, honestly. And like Hinge, it's surprising to me. So they came out within 2 years of each other, but Hinge was later though.
Hinge was a little bit later. It kind of came, honestly, I think it has to do a little bit with the gamification of things, because even though Hinge is swipe, the information on the profiles was a lot more, and there were a lot more preferences. Like they had political beliefs, they had like, I mean, all of them had height, but I think it had like location, job, like a whole bunch of other stuff. If
you smoke, like if you're sober, like it had a lot.
Yeah, it had a bunch of stuff. So I feel like as our generation kind of grew up with these like millennials, Gen Z, we got a little bit exhausted and we wanted a solution to them. So I feel like Hinge kind of
and
fit.
I like, maybe this is stupid, but also for me, like I feel like Tinder and Bumble, like they're like red and yellow. It's like bright, and like the way that Hinge is just like white and like black, like I don't know. It just like feels more like I like that better. Like it takes the game away from it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because like Tinder and Bumble, like it literally, you could confuse those for like a game app, like just when you see it or whatever. But I feel like Hinge is like a little bit more sleek. Like that's just a personal thing.
No, that's like a really good point. Like it feels like a little bit more like adult, and even the messaging, the app designed to be deleted. Like I think people like that more. I believed them. It had more of a promise, you know. Bumble was a little iffy. Tinder was just, we all think of hookups, which we're going to get into later. But like,
yeah, Tinder's if you're trying to get wild. Everybody knows that.
Exactly. They all kind of have their little thing. Okay, so now I kind of want to get into the current state of dating apps financially and how they're all together. Where are they at? So they're not doing well. But Match, like we said, was the very first one. And Match Group Inc. acquired a portfolio of companies including Tinder, Hinge, Match, Meetic, OkCupid, Pairs, Plenty of Fish, Azar, Hakuna, and a bunch of other ones. So pretty much they have a monopoly on almost every single dating app besides like Bumble, and they did try to buy Bumble.
I know what monopoly means because I took an economics class in college. And that's crazy. And Match was the first one.
Yeah, Match was the first one. And they acquired
so they really
all of these.
started an empire.
Right. And they have investors. Like, I think one of their investors or that half owns it is like IC or something in there. I tried really hard to go down like a very deep black hole into like who is investing in what in these apps, because I know that there's a lot with like Blackstone, BlackRock, like whatever. If this makes no sense to you, like disregard. But like it's a law on TikTok about how like every company is owned by like all of these major companies, and Blackstone now owns a portion of Bumble. So I don't know. But you know, if you are someone business oriented and knows financials and stock stuff and all of that, please comment more info in the description because I'm very interested. I'm just not economically as intelligent to grasp all of that.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, they are not doing well. So Match Group and Bumble, whose market share make up nearly the entire industry, have lost more than $40 billion since 2021, a sign that dating apps have lost their luster. Other dating apps like Hinge and Tinder have also debuted marketing campaigns in the last year to encourage more downloads, emphasizing a shift. So everyone, they're kind of freaking out right now. Gen Z's not loving the dating apps. Millennials are kind of tired with them. They're losing a lot of money since 2021. So hence comes Bumble's marketing campaign. They saw women were fed up, they're tired, whatever, and they were like, you know what, we're going to change. So they launched a now infamous marketing campaign that received a lot of backlash. They had archived all of their photos to tease this rebrand. And first they dropped this commercial, which, have you seen the commercial yet? Yeah. So they go to a convent. This woman's like becoming a nun. Yeah. She's like, they're all in yellow. And then she like sees a gardener and she gets really horny and she like leaves. And everyone, when they first saw the commercial, was kind of confused. They didn't really get it. Like it was giving, what's that show you watched? The Maid one? With the red that your mom
I really want to remember.
Hulu? It was on Hulu.
The one oh Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale. It was giving Handmaid's Tale, exactly.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Right. And then she like ran away and she was like, no, like I don't want to be a nun, whatever. But people were confused. They didn't really get it. Then they launched all these billboards. So guys, I'm going to put them on the screen. One said, you know full well a vow of celibacy is not the answer. Another said, thou shalt not give up on dating and become a nun. Another one said, we changed so you don't have to. And another one said, you can stop putting your retainer in at 7 p.m. on a Friday. Kind of aggressive here. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. It's a little, like, okay. Slow down, maybe take that back.
Like, they're kind of calling you, like, a cat lady. Like, I've seen those comments. Like, you know, the retainer thing. They're like, okay, like, this is typical, like, shaming women for, like, enjoying their own night on a Wednesday. Like, we don't have to be out fucking everyone. Like, relax.
Right. And also, like, if I had worn my retainer, then I wouldn't have a bottom tooth that's crooked. Like, I wish I was the bitch. I love your
bottom tooth, though.
I know you do. But I wish I was the bitch that put my retainer in, like, at night. Like, that's an admirable quality.
Right.
Like,
like, come on.
So this article we found from Fortune, we pulled this from the article. They said the plan majorly backfired, with women taking to TikTok, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter, to talk about just how offensive Bumble's new ad campaign was to them. They argue Bumble turned a blind eye to the fact that women continue to lose reproductive rights. Others have experienced trauma that prevent them from enjoying and pursuing casual intercourse. And the theme of the ads feeds into the idea of a patriarchal society in which women are just objects for men to mess with. Yeah, Bumble really fucked up.
Because
They fucked up.
especially like we said, we think of Tinder as the hookup app. We always have, kind of. But Bumble is a little more iffy. It's not quite Hinge, but it's in the middle.
A little more wholesome.
A little more wholesome. But to make a whole campaign around sex and hooking up and shaming women for it is kind of weird because, again, this is not a hookup app. Like, I don't know how dating equates with hooking up in their eyes. And we're going to get into a little bit more about their whole mindset in a little bit. But some more from a different Fortune article said, photos and videos of and about the advertisement spread on social media last weekend along with outrage. Users and followers said that the ad shamed them for choosing not to have sex, a stance that has gained traction globally, especially among Gen Z. There's the 4B movement in South Korea in which women reject marriage, childbirth, dating, and sex. All 4 words start with the letter B in Korea. And then there's going boy sober, a rejection of men and dating that became a TikTok trend. So I know I personally am not completely like for practicing the 4B movement in my own life. Like I support whatever women want to do that. We've done a lot about gender politics and dynamics and everything in this episode. And me personally, I don't see that as the solution. I think we need interactions with men. But at the same time, if a woman is choosing to be celibate for whatever reason, like she can still date
without some slam. And exactly. And I do think that it was really silly of them, like especially with how Gen Z is and how like, you know, political they are and all of that. And like even looking at their campaign marketing, like who they chose to put on those billboards, it's like, I mean, everything is literally on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can their message be like, it's so fucked up. And also to do it like, because also it's like we've done an episode about strippers that go through a period of celibacy, and we talked a little bit about how celibacy is trending online. So it's like as a company to like notice that trend and then kind of use it was just like it's just kind of dumb,
and it goes against
opinion.
their whole messaging, which is like very for women, women's empowerment,
and
all of those
inclusive.
things.
Like no,
and then they're like, oh, don't be celibate though. Like when I was on Hinge before last year, I was celibate. I was like going on dates through Hinge, and I was not having sex. Like I was celibate during that time. You can still date people and be celibate, so it makes no sense to me as a campaign.
And more from that article, they said the ad campaign was meant to be a major part of Bumble's turnaround plan after 70% of women surveyed by the app said that they experienced dating app burnout. The app also made a major change that now takes the onus off of women to make the first move and announced AI dating concierges to help weed out matches. And I feel like, because like with the campaign, it's like we know that Bumble's the company. We know that they want us to download the app, but it's like they're really like slapping it in our face how much they want it to by saying like, you know, you guys should stop being celibate and lame and like be on Bumble. And it's like the dating app burnout. It's like, yes, I don't think dating apps are like the best, but it has a lot to do with the people that are behind the dating app. Like it's not even so much like Bumble's the problem or like, I mean, the way that it is looks like a game and all that we can go into. But at the end of the day, like people have gotten married from Bumble. People have found relationships. So it's not 100% them. Like it's also this generation that we're in and what dating looks like. And because there's so many apps and so many ways to meet people and all of that. So if anything, they should like take in that people are experiencing dating app burnout, understand why, and do a campaign around that that's like more inspiring to want to find someone rather than like kind of like shaming you in a passive aggressive way.
And that's the thing, because Bumble's whole campaign marketing from the very jump was like putting women in the driver's seat. And we're going to get into more of their messaging in a little bit, but it was all around women. So I find it interesting that they can take the statistic that 70% of women experience dating app fatigue, and instead of like listening to those women and trying to help them, they're just like, oh, don't be tired, keep going and fuck more.
Don't be a nun? Like what?
Like what? Like maybe like why don't you promote like women's like mental health and like healthier dating and all. And Bumble has done a lot of good things compared to other dating apps in terms of like, stopping sexually explicit pictures. Like, they've done things in Congress, all of that, which I might argue is performative, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But yeah, so they did also launch the AI dating concierges. We're going to have an episode coming out in the future that's going to be like a part 2 to this, where we're going to talk more about like the algorithms and AI and that's a whole other mess. But the one thing I want to talk about real quick before we get into all of Bumble's lore is the fact that they changed the first move thing. So before, it used to be like women were in the driver's seat. They made the first move. And part of this campaign, because women are exhausted and tired and burnt out, they're letting men make the first move as well, but like only with certain prompts, because they don't want men to be like harass them sexually or whatever, which was, I guess, the whole point of women making the first move. How do you feel about that?
I feel like every woman I know like hates the fact that Bumble's like that. Like, I see what they're trying to do, but it's like they can still sexually harass you with a prompt. They can still sexually harass you when you message them first. Like, I get the type of prevention things, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but it's kind of that thing of like women already like feel this type of way, and now that you're like putting them in this position where they have to reach out first. Like, I don't know. I don't love it.
Yeah, I never loved it, and that's why I never really got Bumble, because I personally, and I felt a type of way like about it before, where I'm like, oh, should I be more confident in making the first move, all of those things, because that was very pushed on us with Bumble.
Right.
But me personally, like, I have a lot of other stuff going on. I don't want to do the extra like thinking to make a first move with a man. Like, I would prefer him to make the first move, and that, again, like you said, it puts a lot of pressure on women, like, too.
Like,
so,
in a weird way.
Yeah. So, like, we're going to talk about, like, was Bumble ever actually built for women? And, like,
No.
Part of this was exactly no. Part of this whole making the first move, like, people were actually mad that they took this feature away, because they were like, oh, this was one of Bumble's, like, founding features. I'm not mad about it. Still not going to download the app. But anyway.
What if Bumble wants to sponsor us one day? Are we like, we can't do it now?
Yeah, no, sorry. Unless they like do a whole rehaul, I don't fucking know. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the Bumble lore and like how this company started. Who the fuck is Whitney Wolfe Herd? What do you know about her, and what do you know about Bumble? Just give me what you know.
Me? I know nothing.
Nothing? Like, about this woman, do you know what she looks like at all?
No.
Okay, she's a blonde white woman, like very like generically attractive, like very girl boss-esque, whatever. So the lore goes, she was the VP of marketing and a co-founder at Tinder when Tinder started. And she was actually dating one of the higher executives, a co-founder as well. They broke up, and then he began to like sexually harass her and send like these abusive messages to her, talking like badly about like who she was as a person, and also like the new person that she was dating. So she left due to that, and then she also sued them for sexual harassment, and they settled in court for $1 million. So Match Group, by the way, denied all of these allegations, but they still settled out of court. I guess it's $1 million. It's not completely confirmed, but that's what the sources I found said. And so that's like where she was. She was out of that, and she didn't plan on starting another dating app. She was out of this job. She was whatever. But this Russian billionaire, entrepreneur, and founder of another dating app called Badoo, his name is Andrei Andreev. He saw an opportunity in Whitney, so he actually reached out to her, and he invited her to Mykonos in Greece on a private jet to have a conversation about potentially going into business together. So now I'm going to read this article from Forbes that's talking about Andreev and like who he is as a business person. He said, quote, "I understood and I see that we needed to attract women to be on the platform, but how?" Andreev says, "We needed to make a safe place, a place where every woman on the planet would feel comfortable." So then the article, right, then the article goes on to say, Bumble is as much Andreev's baby as Wolfe Herd's, and she acknowledges him as her founding partner. It was Andreev who reached out to Wolfe Herd's shortly after the lawsuit, suggesting that they collaborate. It was Andreev, Wolf _ who pushed for a women-driven dating app on Bumble. You know, the woman makes the first move, rather than the social network Wolfe Herd initially proposed. It was Andreev who put up the money, becoming majority owner, and this was in 2019. He still owned 59% and 79% to Wolfe Herd's 20%. And it was also and is Andreev who leveraged Badoo, the other dating app, completely so Bumble could launch into the market with force. Quote, "I don't think I could have stomached a bunch of men judging me at that time. I could have done a friends and family raise and gotten the money," Wolfe Herd told Forbes in 2017. This was more about his knowledge and infrastructure. So essentially, he was the money behind it. He was the idea. He was everything. Again, her role at Tinder was marketing director. So he heard about this suit. He saw a potential in her, and he wanted her to come be the face of Bumble for this women-led, women-driven app. It's getting a little sketchy, isn't it? It's making your skin crawl a little bit. We're a little uncomfortable.
I started making me crawl with the private jet and Mykonos.
Right.
Bitch.
He's wooing her. So now they launched this app together. Whitney Wolfe Herd is like a marketing genius. You know, for Tinder, she reached out to influencers, all of those things. For Bumble, very woman focused. Bumble is named after, you know, the queen bee. So it's all very matriarch. She marketed a lot to campuses and sororities. They had a tagline, "Be the CEO your parents always wanted you to marry." And it was very girl boss. And it was also in the era of 2014 when Sophia Amoruso of Nasty Gal coined the term girl boss. It was going off with like Beyonce and like everything. It was all about women's empowerment. But this feminist identity was very much built around corporate success, and it was like a performance of feminism. So it was very marketable. And it was also very white. So this podcast that I listened to, The Land of the Giants, talked about Bumble. Highly recommend. They had a really good series about dating apps. They said it was the girl bossification of dating, right? Says former Teen Vogue executive Samitha, who's working on a book on the end of girl boss culture. "I girl boss my diet. I girl boss my exercise regime. I girl boss my outfits every week. And now with Bumble, I'm girl bossing dating." This whole like idea of like being the woman, the feminist, the girl boss dating app was further reiterated by Match saw Bumble kind of coming up and attracting all these women, and they were like, "Oh, fuck no, we're going to try to acquire Bumble." So they tried to acquire Bumble twice, and Bumble was like, "No, we want to be our own company. We don't want you to buy us out." So then Match Group sued Bumble for copying their product, like with the swiping feature, and they lost. Then Bumble also ran a whole page ad talking about like they tried to get us, but they won't. Like, so they framed themselves very much as like this, like, you know, they're the small underdog, they're the woman, they're trying to defeat corporate white male culture, all of this stuff. But was it really at all? We're not thinking so much. Any thoughts so far? Anything you want to jump in with?
I mean, bitch, like it's not surprising, you know? And I think it kind of will sit, I think after knowing this information, it's the whole, like, it's definitely not feminist. It's like this guy with an idea that saw an opportunity with this specific woman that sued for sexual harassment. Like, it's very just like, I'm not quite sure. And I think the whole thing about the girl bossing, I mean, we've talked about like girl boss, like white feminism before, like on this channel or podcast. The fact that it was coinciding like right, like next to each other is like very interesting to take note of as well, I think.
Yeah, it was like the CEO era.
Oh, God.
So a little bit about the dating apps at the time and now still. There was a big gender gap issue with dating apps because there were a lot more men on the dating apps versus women. So this stat I found says scrutiny of dating app demographics reveals notable gender imbalances. Tinder emerges as the most skewed with a staggering 75% of users being men and only 25% women.
Oh, God.
Yeah. In contrast, Hinge presents a more balanced landscape with 2/3 of its users identifying as men. which is still not that much different. And I could not find anything about Bumble, which I found very interesting. But you see, you can start to see how Bumble is solving like a market problem for this business, because all of these apps are struggling with getting women on the apps. They have a lot of men, but they need women, right? So we actually have Wolfe Herd saying this, and Andreeva as well. If we get women on the app, then the men will follow. So this was not just like a marketing thing. This was a business idea. This is what they like pitched to investors as well. So I want us to watch this quick little interview, just this piece of this interview. This is from the Washington Ideas Forum, and it was back in 2016.
We found that there's really this underlying fear of, rejection. And so when men are on these platforms, generally speaking, not everybody, there's this sense of, I have to make the first move. I have to go hunting. I have to make sure that I go after her. And that puts a lot of pressure on the man. It also, opens up a stream of bad behavior, because if the woman doesn't respond, it's taken as rejection. Therefore, you get this, harassment taking place. So when the woman is the one making the first move, he's complimented. He feels flattered on the other end versus in this, this state of, how do I get her to respond?
Right. I'll say this. I'm 30 years old. I have used probably 6 or 7 dating apps in my life, purely for research purposes, of course.
Of course.
I have used Bumble. And one thing that I found actually was that it was an unbelievable relief to have the burden shift to the woman to make the first move. For the following reason, I'm more than happy to make the first move typically, but dating online, dating anywhere really, is something of a numbers game. So you have to send all of these incredibly clever first messages with perfect grammar over and over every single week, and it's lovely to be able to sit back and say, once the match is made, and there's enough interest there,
there's
she's
interest.
just going to reach out to me. I don't have to worry about it.
Well, what's really great about that as well? You feel relieved, and the women feel empowered and confident, and they also get to drive the conversation. So
I just feel like this interview, honestly, takes us on a trip, through the matrix. If society was different, the fact that she is just so deeply concerned with the horrible task men have to reach out and craft a message with grammar and all of this, and then ends with, oh yeah, and it makes the women empowered too. Bitch, clearly it's not what that's really about, because it's like, this is so feminist, but it really, the majority of the conversation was about men and taking the pressure off of men, but they're advertising it like it's supposed to be about women, and so she kind of snaked that in there at the end. Yeah, this is tragic.
Yeah, it's like she's spinning, you see her spinning the story in real time. And it's interesting because you guys know, or you might not, I think I say it in the beginning of every episode, but I work in marketing. So a lot of my job is to spin narratives and to spin ideas and or whatever. And I've done B2C, business to customer marketing, and also business to business. And Bumble's in this interesting position of they're trying to be new on the forefront of technology. And they're oh, our stock price is up. Oh, invest in us. All of those things, while they're also marketing to customers. So they're facing the known issue of there's more men on these apps. We need more women on the apps. But she has to simultaneously market to women who don't know as much about all this other stuff and get them on the apps to fix that issue. So she's kind of marketing to 2 fields at the same time. But with social media, I feel we're much less fooled by this capitalist bullshit, we were for a minute there though, because I didn't really think about any of this with Bumble. I was oh, it is it always felt a little fishy, but I kind of got it. But
yeah,
I don't know.
By the women messaging first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I feel if I'm I feel I was so far removed from thinking about it as a company and wanting to make money, but it's genuinely everyone I know hates that about Bumble. That's a woman. I don't know how guys feel about it, but and this is like, it's like we can't like trust these people, like these business owners, like we really can't. And like we do need to like think more about like what we're doing, because I think, and they feed off of like how with our phones, like we get like magnetized to the screen, like we're not thinking, like we're making impulsive decisions, like swiping so quickly, like it's designed for us to do it that way. I just like that guy complaining about like how hard it is to like craft these like interesting messages. It's like no one's holding a gun to your head asking you to do it. Like, so don't. Like if it's supposed to be like fun and like a new way to find something, like I don't know why he's talking about it like it's like hard work. Like, then don't do it.
Well, and then he's saying like, oh, the burden of that is going on to women. So it's like, well, she's marketing it as, oh, like you're in the driver's seat. Like it really is like the men have been quote unquote like doing this, sending the first message, trying to think of quippy response. And he's seeing it as, oh, this is good for men. We just get to sit back. We need to relax. So it's like, it appeals to men as well, I think, because like she said, oh, their egos, oh, their rejection, oh, all
they're
of
gonna
this
get
stuff.
hurt.
Yeah. So it's like they're thinking about the men just as much, if not maybe more, than they're thinking about the women. It's just the marketing is centered around women. And the other thing I wanted to mention in talking about this too, like just with the like discrepancy between like men and women on dating apps, like Ashley Madison, I had mentioned this to you before, like earlier in the week, but there's a new documentary on Netflix. Like maybe you guys have seen it. Ashley Madison was like in, I think, the early 2000s, and it was like a dating site for people to have affairs on. And they had a whole issue with like too many men, not enough women. And what they tried to center marketing campaigns around like women having affairs, all of those things. They eventually ended up even having fake profiles of women because they could not match the number of men that were on the site. So this is like an age-old problem with dating apps. So it just like kind of puts it into perspective when you think about like Bumble is not really empowering, they're serving a market purpose.
Right. And I feel like I don't know, like maybe this is obvious, but I feel like the women, the reason that more men are on it is because like men don't feel the societal pressure to like settle down and like build real connections by a certain age like women do. And it's like all the women I talk to, it's like they're not on the apps because it's just like fake. Like it's not real. Like, yes, you can meet someone on it. And that's why I'm like, babe, like that's why girls don't swipe on us, because there's not enough women on. Because even having like, as a bi person, like having it open to men and women, like there's way more men that I go through, and then when I get to a woman, I'm like, oh, finally. Like it's honestly,
and that's like, it's part like culture too, because a lot of what I was reading, I didn't really include it as much in this episode, but like women are exhausted because of the men on the dating apps. And even with Bumble's restrictions or whatever, like anti-sexual harassment, like it's a culture problem, and I think it's just manifested in these apps because, like, men are watching porn too much, like all of these things where they just over-sexualize, and they get the hit of, oh, this woman swiped with me, so it's an instant in, and that's like a patriarchal, like, gender, that a whole different issue, but the dating apps seem to be, like, capitalizing off of it and making it worse.
Right. And I just want to say, too, it's like the whole thing with like, oh, now the pressure's off of men. The women have to message first. Like, but the men were never forced to message first. Like the women were being forced to message first.
Yes.
You know, like it was just like, oh, we think like men should because men are the ones that should pursue us, blah, blah, blah. But it's not like they literally had to. Like anyone could message each other. So I don't know. Like, I think it's just like, it's just one of those things where it's like a lot of times when businesses or just like things in society like try to make something more feminist or like try to do this, or even just like being a girl's girl, like it has good intentions, but what you're doing is like really just putting more rules on things, making it like more rigid and like forced. It's not like real.
Yeah, I don't think they did have good intentions, honestly. I feel like they were trying to solve the problem of men not getting enough matches, and I think men are more likely to pay for these apps as well, which we're going to get into in like a little bit too. So next, I want to get into a little bit about like what's going on behind the scenes while they're doing all of this marketing. Like even in that, you can kind of see her slip up. Like she's like talking a little too much about men when most of it is very much women. They had another campaign where it was like the podcast that I had mentioned before was saying it looked like the message had been written by an AI. Like a woman had said something and the guy said Connor was his name. He said something like sexual harassy or like women don't have jobs or something. And she was like, actually, in the 2010s or whatever, women have done da in the workforce. And that was like a campaign they ran. So like they were trying to be like, you know, fight back against this stuff. I don't know.
Right.
But so behind the scenes, this is from the Forbes article as well. Bumble's titular headquarters may be in Austin, Texas, but the infrastructure, the company's engine, sits squarely in the London office, which hosts product development and engineering and a raft of hair-raising allegations. Wolfe Herd recently dictated a weekly work diary for the New York Times, which called the piece "Fighting Misogyny One Bumble Brand at a Time." But according to a former Badoo employees, Bumble has a misogyny problem within its own parent company, and her founding partner, with whom she says she speaks with 2 and 5 times a day, is right in the middle of it. So while serving, so this is coming from an employee of Badoo, Bumble, whatever.
Yeah.
They said, while serving as the company's CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, I was told to act pretty for investors and make job candidates, quote, horny to work for Badoo. Jessica Powell, Badoo's Chief Marketing Officer from 2011 to 2012, says in an email. I was once even asked to give a designer candidate a massage. She said she refused to do so, adding that, quote, female employees were routinely discussed in terms of their appearance. When female staff spoke up, their concerns were ignored or minimized, she adds, decrying a misogynistic atmosphere. Disagree with Andreev and you were called a psycha, which is a bitch in Russian.
Quote, in order to progress in that company, employees, and particularly female ones, were expected to see their jobs as primarily massaging the egos of the founder and senior managers who held influence with him, adds employee Alice Bonacio, Badoo's Director of Communications and Public Relations Manager from 2011 to 2012 by email. She says she was fired because she did not fit well with Badoo's patriarchal environment. Quote, the culture meant that for female employees to get ahead, they needed to heavily play the game.
So there was also a lot of racism going on. Like this Russian billionaire said a lot of things about like how there were a lot of Latino people on Badoo and he thought that it cheapened the app, and he said a lot of other racist comments like to his employees. So this speaks to the type of guy that he is. And Whitney Wolfe Herd, you know, she has this opportunity. She became a billionaire by him. But his mindset in going into this was probably, we can assume, not the best. And obviously, you know, she kind of tried to distance herself from that, not ever really like calling him out for stuff, but Blackstone bought him out. And I do want to say, you know, she did things in Congress to like make sexually explicit photos being sent through messages like a crime. And they also have like a deception detector on Bumble. They have like certain things in place that prevent sexual harassment. So she has like put her money or her actions where her mouth is in terms of some of this feminist stuff, given that like her background comes from a lot of sexual harassment or whatever. But you kind of see her as someone who was taken advantage of. Like, right. What would you do in that position?
I mean, I would never be in that position to begin with. You mean like when, because I'm a little confused. So it's like, so she started to distance herself from the CEO person, is what you're saying?
So they were co-founders together, yeah. So
yeah.
But once these allegations came out,
she was kind of
she was distanced. But the argument is like, wouldn't she have known the entire time? And when you think about how he tapped her, knowing
like he probably sexually harassed her originally.
I think maybe he didn't with her because she was like his image of power or his image to success. Yeah. Like he needed a pretty white blonde woman with a history of fighting against sexual abuse to get all these women on the app. So maybe he did treat her well, whatever, but she had to have kind of known, you know, the skeezy background that he had. And maybe she even had the best intentions, you know, like obviously she fought against Tinder before, but like this guy was making her money. Like she got into this app. Like it's a little iffy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if something that you went through was like really hard, she got like went to court for it, and then she got like super rich and like with this guy and whatever, but then it came out that he did the exact same thing to her where she started her journey. Like I get that money's enticing, but I feel like you gotta go. Like that's just like really bad. And like obviously like it was like multiple employees. Like it wasn't like a freak thing for him. Like it was like, you could argue that like, wouldn't it be hard for him to like hide that completely all the time if it's like so many people saying something? Because sometimes it's like predators pick one person, they're a target, and it's just like whatever, they go on to the next. But it seems like he's doing it to everyone at the same time. So yeah, you do kind of feel bad for her, but at the same time, like I feel like even just those marketing campaigns alone without all of this, like she's not the best person. So
And that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, you know, maybe back then she had her good intentions. She was wooed on a private jet to Mykonos by this guy. He invested all this money in this app. She built this whole company. But like she built it on his ideas and his bullshit. And so now where she's in a place that she stepped down as CEO, and there's a new woman who was the former CEO of Slack, and she's like more of a technology background. She's like Latina, she's like a technologist, she really focuses on algorithms. So like they are now, at least as it appears, more women fronted. They have a lot of like women in their staff, and like maybe they are trying to be different, but at the same time, this is their roots, like this is their history. And I feel like maybe she's just so far gone where it's like, when you watch that interview too, it's like, did they ever care about women? Like,
right. That's why I said it like took us in some like matrix. Like it's very, very bizarre. And I feel like there's just too much stacked up against her. And it's like, we have to remember, like, just because someone experiences harassment and abuse, like, doesn't mean that like they're like a good person at the same time. So it's like, if she went through this and like realized what it was like firsthand, but then like teamed up with someone that like does it to other women and like never spoke out about it, it's like, I don't know. Like, do you feel bad for what she went through? Of course. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
And like beyond just like the employees and like all, like I don't want to minimize that because that's all awful, but the whole ideology behind the app was not her either. It was him. She came from Tinder as the head of marketing. Like, you know, so like it's just like we've been sold this like insane lie that when you start like peeling it back, you're kind of like, okay, like I don't even know if we should be that mad, honestly, about these anti-celibacy ads, because it's like, at least they're being more straight up now.
Yeah.
They're like, we need you to fuck. We need you to shut up and fuck and stop complaining because the men on this app are getting frustrated and they're not paying anymore, and that's what runs our business. That's essentially what they're saying.
That's terrifying. No, like that's genuinely so fucking scary. Like this is like when you go like in company's history and it's always like dark as fuck. Like why does money always come from like horrible things?
Okay, so transitioning out of this whole Russian billionaire mess, I want to get into again back where we are today in a little bit more of Bumble's marketing campaign, because the women not making the first move anymore, or they can kind of sometimes, and also the billboard ads were only part of it. There is a third component. So we're going to get into that a little bit, and then we're also going to talk about, you know, how these businesses need to make money. So
right. Yeah, so let's get into this article from Slate. It says, Whitney Wolfe Herd, who informed the audience at Bloomberg's Tech Summit of a world where your dating concierge could go and date for you with another dating concierge. Naturally, these concierges would make use of artificial intelligence software, which users could train by sharing your insecurities and thus help to train yourself into a better way of thinking about yourself. Wolfe Herd claimed. What the fuck? This, by the way, will be the secret to digging Bumble out of its post-pandemic financial hole. we are going to lean in fast and furiously. We already have. We are going to win. We will be the way people meet. What is she giving, like a dictator speech? What the fuck?
Yeah, and there's
It's
another
giving Trump 2024 speech. That's literally what it's giving.
Exactly. And there's another quote she said, we're going to innovate, and that's how we're going to win. So there's a lot of talk about winning, and it's just so trippy to me because, like,
winning?
The space that I'm in, like, in my corporate job, and, like, I don't want to give too much information because I don't want you guys to know where I work, but, like, this is, like, the struggle for a lot of businesses, especially well-seen. I mean, for companies like Google and, like, I guess Facebook and Instagram, but like Facebook and Instagram kind of like same thing somewhat because it's like they're marketing to all of us regular ass people that just use it for innocent, pure reasons. And then they have these whole other like Bloomberg Tech, this whole other giant industry of content and podcasts about like business. And so she's talking about the app to these business people, and all they care about is, oh, did what I invest in, is it going to make me money? Is the stock going to go up? Is this like the future of tech? Am I a thought leader, an innovator, all of those things? And see how she's talking about it is so much different than you should find love. Like, you know?
Yeah, it's not like she wants to win and like be the way people meet because they have real feminist, intersectional feminist ideologies, like any of that. Like it's just capitalistic. It's money hungry, going in fast and furiously. Like who the fuck does she think she is, bro?
I'm saying
crazy.
Like they just need to take her like off. Like she's had her day now. Like she needs to stop. But like I think this is like, and again, I don't know, like maybe I'm just more interested in it because I am in the space of marketing where like I have to like address these problems daily at my job. But it's like, I feel like our generation, the beautiful thing about like millennials and Gen Z is that like marketing doesn't work on us as well. And I think it's challenging so many companies to have like genuine values because so many companies before hid behind the fact that your regular average everyday person did not know about what's going on behind the scenes with these investors and where the money is. But like we've learned to follow the money, and we've learned that like what they're saying is not always what they're doing. So I think like it's challenging a new era. Yeah, it really is.
No, it is like in turn, like what we're doing by not feeding into their bullshit is like actually challenging them and like maybe a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think, and even like this is like kind of off topic, but even Gen Z like doesn't even want influencers, like people like me and you, to like sell them anything anymore.
Yeah.
And I get it. And it's like these companies like feel that too.
Well, and that's what like kind of what I wanted to talk, like us to talk about like a little bit too, like a little bit off topic, but like we're going to get into it a little bit more. But it's hard regardless today, like especially as a creator. Like I recently saw a statistic from like Spotify for podcasters that was like people are more likely to buy, you know, from podcasts because they like trust us or they believe in our audience. You guys know we worked with one company that was paid, and we did really fuck with their products. Like I literally still use them like the other night, and I love them. Like they were great lubes, and we don't work with them anymore. Like we just did that one campaign. But like it's hard, like as creators, I think it really is hard because the only way for us to monetize our platform or whatever is to work with these bigger companies. And like I think both of us have talked a lot about how we want to have such a high bar. Like you said, like would we work with Bumble? You know, it falls in the category of sex, relationships, and identity. But like what do you do when stuff like this? I know a bunch of podcasts I listen to like are sponsored by Bumble and all of those things. And Tinder. And it's like, I mean, like we tell you guys all the time, if you're loyal listeners, we make no money off this podcast. Yeah. Like we spend money. We lose money every month on Adobe and all the tools that we need.
Okay, you don't need to give them too much.
I mean, if you want to like subscribe, all the more reason. But like, you know, we're in this dynamic where it's like all these companies have all the fucking money, and they kind of like use smaller creators. Like there's Bumble ambassadors and at like college campuses, and it's like an internship for them.
That's so crazy. There is, bro. I remember those. I know. I think it's really, really hard. And like, especially for us being like a sex relationships, identity, like emphasis on the sex. Like we say a lot of things that probably would turn brands off. And like, we know that, like, we're not stupid.
Yeah.
But we also know and follow some other sex podcasts and see them work with brands. Like, we know it's possible. Like, just because we can be, like, so transparent and, like, I hate the word, but, like, vulgar at times.
We were told by someone actually in the industry that we have to, like, it's going to be hard for us or whatever.
And we're like, no, we're good.
We're
because,
good.
like, we just, like, believe that, like, it'll just happen, like, manifest it. But it's tough. And, like, do I blame creators that, like, take a brand deal with maybe not the best company because they need money? Like, no, not necessarily. Like, you know, and, like, I mean, I don't rely on influencers to market things to me or podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, has it happened maybe once or twice? Yes. But, like, I'm definitely more of someone that, like, I don't know. It doesn't really work on me that much. So it doesn't really concern me. If I see an influencer, like, doing this, like Bloom, for example. Like, Bloom is, like, a whole fucking thing. Like, and I'm like, girl, make your money. Like, if anything, I'm like, ooh, paid partnership. Like, let's go. Like, that's how you would want to hype them up. Now, if someone does something with a horrible company that, and you guys, you have to understand that kind of every company is horrible. Like, my mom said the other day, like, why is there Chick-fil-A sauce in your fridge? Like, she was giving me shit. Like, whatever. Like, she's gay. I'm gay. We got a whole gay family. She's like, why are you doing that? And I was like, Mom, because I like the food. Like, I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, so, like, remember, like, for my birthday, like, what did you send me? Like, an Amazon package, right?
Yeah,
I was like,
Jeff Bezos.
I was like, do you know about Amazon? And she's like, ah, ha, ha. And so I'm like, yeah, like, Shein, like, we could name 50 million companies. And so what are we supposed to just stop buying things? Like, no.
And that is a push, though, like, de-influencing culture and, like, stop all of this stuff, especially with, like, the war going on in Israel and, like, Palestine and all of that. Like, and that it gets so tricky because I feel like, in a way, like, as consumers and all of that, we've gotten so much smarter. But, like, what I wonder for the future, like, as we get, like, more demystified by their marketing and all of those things, like, it does challenge them because they are losing money. But it's like, what is the future? Like, where's the money going to come from? Because, like, look at Whitney Wolfe Herd. Like, I do think she had the best intentions in the beginning. But, like,
Maybe.
You're wooed by a billionaire? I don't know. Like, do you sell out? Like, we talk about this all the time. Like, if a company wanted to buy us, like, would we do it? Like, we really stand and, like, we want to have our own production, like, all of those things. But it's weird to think about.
What's the word that we need?
Investor? The IP. We need to keep our IP.
Yeah, the IP.
Yeah, we learned from Call Her Daddy and all of their stuff. But yeah, that's another one, Call Her Daddy and all that. But anyways, so moving on a little bit more into the financial state of these dating apps. In addition to a decline in stock price, Match Group, the conglomerate that owns Tinder, Hinge, The League, and more, reported in Q4 of 2023 that paying users had declined by 5% year over year. The decline was steepest for Tinder in particular, with paying users dropping by 8%. Driving paying users is one of Tinder's top priorities in 2024. Last year's to-do list included AI integration and an overhaul to Tinder's marketing appeal to Gen Z, which, you know, Bumble did this year. Quote, "We want to drive high-quality pairs and we want to drive revenue," she says, the CEO of Tinder. "We don't want to maximize pairs for the sake of maximizing pairs." To that end quote. To that end, Tinder has also introduced some new options like a $500 a month ultra premium subscription. So like they don't want to drive pairs for pairs' sake, but they do.
What does that even mean?
A lot. I don't even know what type fucking features you get with that. But I did look into Bumble's pricing. So this is
babe, like, what does it mean when they say we don't want to maximize payers for the sake of maximizing payers? What does that mean?
I feel like they're just trying to be like, oh, like, we're not trying to, like, exploit our users and just get the most money out of them, but we are.
Like, why would you say that? Like, I don't know. Anyway,
because they're spinning, they're marketing, they're PRing.
So if we break down the Bumble pricing, which we found this from Mashable.com.
Yeah.
As of 2023, for Bumble Boost, you can do 1 week at $8.99, $9 for a week. You can do 1 month at $16.99, 3 months at $33.99, 6 months at $54.99. And then for Bumble Premium, which is like even more, I'm assuming, is 1 week at $19.99, 1 month at $39.99, 3 months for $76.99, and a lifetime for $300 motherfucking dollars. Damn, you could get a lifetime Bumble Premium?
And doesn't that go against the entire idea of the dating app?
Why would you want to be on it by your whole life?
Like, they're advertising, oh, look at all these cumbles.
You'll be single for 6 months. Congrats.
Right. Like, you even investing in a 6-month membership is like and it's counterintuitive because, again, like, I do want to do this episode on AI and the algorithms. Haven't researched it completely, guys, so I don't have enough to say about it yet, but it's coming because this made me think, like, what is going on behind the scenes in the technology? Like, these apps are smart. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're bringing AI in. They've put things behind paywalls to maybe prevent you from getting matches. And, like, Hinge, it's been trending on TikTok, all this stuff about rose jail. So it's the idea that, like, they put all of, like, either the most attractive people or the people you're most suitable for behind, like, a rose thing. So you get 1 rose, but, like, for the other ones you have to pay. So it's like you only get, like, the bottom of the barrel, I guess, for the regular subscription.
That's so mean, but I've noticed that. I'm like, damn, why are all the rose bitches so hot? Do you think we're, like, someone's rose? Like, are we bottom of the barrel?
I also, like, looked a lot into, like, a little bit how the algorithm works. I watched this whole video, and it's like men are way more likely to swipe than women are. So, like, women get more matches than men. Also, I think there's more men on the dating apps. But, like, the way the algorithm works is confusing, but it has something to do with, like, how often people swipe you and how often you swipe people. Like, one of my friends actually told me, like, when you first get the app, like, swipe left on everyone because it puts your standards higher. So it'll, like, give you better people. Like, you almost have to cheat the, like, code or something.
Damn, so I've been doing it wrong.
So it's rating you. Like, you have, in the back end of these dating apps, you probably have, like, I don't know if it's an attractiveness score, but, like, a matchable or desirability score. I want to go see.
Why can't they tell us? I want to know what they think. But I also feel like I don't take dating apps that seriously. So sometimes I'll just swipe and be like, oh, wait, maybe we could be friends. Like, I'm not necessarily, like, looking for my wife or, like, my husband or my partner or whatever. So that's really interesting. And I know the next poll we want to get into is if you've ever paid for a dating app. And 10% said yes and 90% said no, so the majority. I did pay for one once. It wasn't Tinder, Bumble, or Hinge. Like, it was a lesbian specific one. Like, it wasn't her, but it was, like, something. And it was, like, I was really sad and, like, whatever. And, like, I just wanted, like, endless. Because I hate when it cuts you off. Like, it's like, there's no more matches.
Swipes, yeah.
So that was the only reason I paid for it. Like, I feel like everyone has their reasons, whether they want to look internationally or, like, whatever. But for me, it was, like, I really wanted, like, endless, like, satisfaction and, like, attention. Like, I just wanted to swipe. Like, I was sad. So that was the only time I did it, and it was, like, college or whatever. But I don't know. I don't think there's anything embarrassing about it. I think what's more embarrassing is the fact that, like, all of what's behind these companies and, like, what they're doing and, like, how it is so counterintuitive to be, like, you know, and because Hinge is, like, the dating app designed to be deleted, but, like, Bumble and Tinder, it's like they're low-key arguing the same thing. Like, they all kind of have that vibe, and then to offer a lifetime subscription is, like, just wild.
It makes no sense.
And it's in our faces, but we're not, like, everyday consumers aren't thinking critically about this shit. It's like, this is a platform that's offered to us. It spreads like wildfire or fire. It's trending. Like, we're not thinking, you guys. And that's why it's like we're in the matrix, like we're chronically online. That's why we have so many episodes about all this shit, because it's scary. It really is. And, like, I Yeah, and I just feel like it's really sad because they're all missing the mark on why people are so fed up with dating apps. It's not necessarily the matchmaking piece. I think a lot of people like matchmaking type of sites and they think that's cool. Like people want to do dating shows, like things like that. But it's more so just the generation of people, and like men are on the apps because they don't really give a fuck. Women aren't on the apps because they know men don't give a fuck and they want to make an organic connection. So they're just like really missing the mark, which is like companies always do. Like it's not surprising. But.
Yeah, and it's like the experience of men, because also for these polls, just so you guys know, all of the yeses were men. There wasn't a single woman or non-binary person in the yeses. It was all men. And I think that's really interesting. But like also based off of all the research I was doing, the experience for men on these apps is very different. And I think one, it has to do with the fact that there's less women on these apps, and also that women are less likely to swipe. So like men are getting less matches, so they're more likely to pay, I think. But I haven't paid for a dating app, but the one that I would have paid for if I got fucking accepted would have been Raya. And I feel like, to me, I would have paid for Raya because, again, like their marketing is so not there. All you hear about it, like I think the first time I heard about it was actually from a podcast I listened to. It was like a dating podcast, and like one of the women, like she used Raya, and like I know it's like content creators, people in the industry. So like for me, I'm like, oh, it's like exclusive. Like I would like to date someone like in the industry, like have connections, like all of that stuff. But I applied like 2 years ago, have not been accepted, even though I'm in the fucking industry, guys. What's up? And I got referrals too. So like I don't understand. But they have like, I think it's like 100 something for a year. But they're also like a little less, they're not as much just dating. It's also like business and like whatever.
Yeah.
Like from what I've heard, it's not really like just hookups. Like it's more like, oh, like we both do this type of work. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's different.
Yeah.
So I probably, and again, like maybe their marketing is just the elusiveness. So that's why I would have paid for that. But I don't know. Like I just feel more of the mentality like, I'm not using dating apps just for hookups. Like, I don't have them right now, but when I wasn't using them just for hookups. I genuinely wanted dates. But I didn't really want my partner either. Like, I feel like I was just like...
And you went on dates.
I went on dates, but, like, none of them were good. And I was also
but
just,
you went?
like... I went, but I'm, like, much more of, like, an in-person... Like, I felt like it never really worked for me, so I couldn't... And I'm sure that paying for it maybe would give you a better experience because you're unlocking the better aspects of this matchmaking process. And I also want to bring up the point of like, again, going back to the beginning of this episode, like matchmakers is an industry. So like the Indian matchmaker, like whatever, like people do pay, like actual dating coaches is also a thing. Like they'll help you with your profile, they'll set up blind dates. Like people do invest in a dating coach when they really want a partner. So like the idea of paying for that isn't crazy to me, but it's just like the way that these apps like gamify it and they're so vague about like how their algorithm really works and all of that stuff, and then selling a lifetime membership, like it just seems so backwards.
Yeah, because it's also like people like the history of matchmaking, like depending on the culture, because obviously like some cultures you get married like way sooner, but like thinking about the US specifically and just like adults that I've known to get matchmaking stuff, it's like they were adults, like they were 40, they were 50, like they had that they had that need to like really pay for it and take it seriously. They're definitely not looking to hook up. But now it's like marketing to 18-year-olds and people younger. It's like there's not a need. They don't need to pay to find a husband right now, or even someone. Like they can meet someone in a variety of different ways. So I think the age thing has a lot to do with it too, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's also like, at least, because I've always been a little bit iffy about dating coaches, and like, who knows? Like, I feel like with our podcast, maybe we'll have a dating coach on here at one point. Like, I'd honestly love to have someone that works at some of these apps, like, come talk to us. Like, that would be really interesting to me. But I've always been a little bit skeptical of dating coaches because, like, to me, the idea of paying for that is like weird, but at the same time, part of me is like, at least with those types of coaches, they're meeting them in person, they're listening to your criteria. There's more of like an in-person interaction versus like pure data. Like everything is filtered down into like numbers and like out, like I don't know. So next I want to get into a little bit about how these dating apps get you addicted, because obviously like if you want a lifetime
like,
subscription,
dum.
it's a game, you need to be addicted. So there was this lawsuit actually against these dating apps that I believe is still going on right now. This was from Valentine's Day of 2024.
So this is from CBS News. Match group-owned apps, including Tinder and Hinge, are designed to addict users and lock them into a perpetual play-to-play loop, according to a proposed class action lawsuit filed in California District Court on Wednesday, Valentine's Day. The hidden algorithms that drive users' addiction to the apps run counter to the company's claims that its products are meant to help people find and establish offline relationships. Hinge markets itself as an app that's designed to be deleted. 6 plaintiffs allege the apps violate consumer protection and other laws and are purposefully addictive, with Match doing everything in its power to capture and sustain paying subscribers and keep them on app. Users allegedly are also baited into continually upgrading their subscriptions and paying for bonus features that promise to give them a better shot at finding love, but in reality only boost the company's bottom line. Exactly. The apps are dopamine manipulating products that gamify romance and dating and operate on a secret algorithm that encourages compulsive use, according to the suit. In other words, addiction increases earnings, the plaintiffs claim. Match Group called the lawsuit ridiculous, adding that it has zero merit. The apps derive 98% of their revenue directly from users who pay for subscriptions and virtual in-app purchases, according to Match Group's most recent SEC filing. Quote, platform users are in search of off-app relationships, while Match is in the business of retaining subscribers. Fundamentally at odds, Match markets the platforms and their attendant subscription offerings misleadingly, the lawsuit reads. Damn, so them bitches are calling them out. Like, that's everything we said. Like, that, okay, this is so poetic, bro, the way it says the apps are dopamine manipulating products that gamify romance and dating. Like, it literally sounds like we would write that.
Literally.
Like, but it's so true, and I love that it's, like, really calling it out for what it is, and just the fact that they say the lawsuit is ridiculous and that it has zero merit. Like, again, like, that's not really... Like, why can't you acknowledge, like, at least what this, like, is? Like, can't you seem to understand? And there's nothing wrong with a business wanting money and wanting to be successful and, like, maybe having some shady marketing from time to time. Like, nobody's perfect, but, like, at the end of the day, this is just a lot. This is a lot.
Yeah,
know?
And it's like, I would even get if they, like, broke it up more into tiers of, like, oh, you're on the app for casual fun. Oh, you're looking for hookups. Oh, you're looking for dates. Oh, you're looking for the love of your life.
Because Bumble kind of does that, though.
Do they really?
They have Bumble BFF, Bumble Hookup.
But I mean more so in terms of, like, paying. Because, like, I guess, like, in part of me, I understand paying for more features. Because it's like, if this was an in-person dating coach, like, any business needs to make money. But honestly, I also thought, like, you know, the old apps, like, way back in the beginning when we talked about how these apps started, they made their money based off of ads. So I'm like, I would rather swipe through a couple fucking ads.
Me too.
Than subscribe to a lifetime $500 a month.
And to be, like, pressured almost into it. Because it's true. Like, even on Hinge, it's like, you can't really do anything without some sort of pop-up being like, want more matches? Like, want more of this? Want more of that?
Yeah.
And it's like, especially with Tinder, like, Tinder has like 4 different tiers. It's like
more than that, I think.
Like, there's so many that it goes into. And like, the biggest one is like Tinder Gold or whatever. And it's all just like so just like flashy and just like weird and like, I don't know, but I get the connection between like, yes, if you went to a dating coach, matchmaking, it's like it makes sense to pay for that. So it's like part of me is like, well, can we really expect to have access to all these people, their ages, where they live, what they look like, they're single just for free? It's like, no, I get that like they need money and all that, but bringing up the ads is like such a great point. Like there are other ways to go about it. And I would understand like maybe some type of prescription that's like over the top amazing, but like they should give more to just people downloading the app for the experience. And they would arguably be able to do so if they did kind of go more in the ad direction.
Or at least be transparent about it. Like, especially like Bumble with this whole like female first, like you find the CEO, I don't know, like their whole marketing, and even Hinge designed to be deleted. It's not designed to be deleted. Maybe it's designed to be deleted if you pay the top subscription, but that's literally not what it is.
Like I don't get like I guess it's like if they're really not showing you like the best quote unquote people, then it's like the subscription's worth it. But the way they market it, it's more just like get more, like more. It's like as an average consumer, I'm like, oh, I don't really need that though. But
Right.
now I'm like, well, do I need it? Like, are they not showing me all of these things?
They aren't.
Like,
They definitely
Right.
aren't unless you're. I mean, I think it's a gap. Like for women, I feel like it's better than it is for men. I think it's 10 times harder for men on the app because of 75% men compared to 25% women on
yeah, there's a
Tinder.
lot.
Like that's crazy. So yeah, it's like the algorithm definitely isn't like showing you like the people that you want to see, but it's also like, I don't know. Part of me for these dating apps is the transparency and like working for companies in marketing. I know my experience in marketing is that we're very disconnected a lot of times from like the like tech side of things or the product side of things. So like sometimes it's literally like marketing's trying to speak to the current generation of people or like what they're told from other people. Like there's just this disconnect. So I can understand that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like the fundamental idea of dating apps and these criteria, even like say someone checks everything on your list, like is that going to mean you're compatible? I don't even know if I believe in that. So I don't know
That's
if I
what
would
I'm
ever pay
saying.
for them.
Right.
You know?
Like at the end of the day, it's like, it's just based on that person. Like, my God, it's not so much about like all this other shit. And like, what if someone's lying? Like, you just don't know. Like, it's not a guarantee. And they make it seem like it's like a need. Like, I don't know. And I think the biggest part of it is how much it is like the gamification of it all. Like, I really do think that's the biggest problem. Because like we all have apps. They have ads. Like, it's weird. Marketing's whatever. But it's like, why are you making like a matchmaking like dating site like really feel like a game? Like, it is bizarre. And I get that, yeah, 17-year-olds aren't going to sit down at eHarmony and fill out an application. So I get you're trying to make it like
On the go.
attractive to these younger generations. But like in turn, like, I mean, everyone hates dating apps. Like, I'm so sorry.
Everyone's
if you guys
exhausted.
are like, people are not happy. Like, and you guys are not doing a good job at
You're
all.
not. Like, transparency would help a lot, but I think Gen Z is fucking over it. So next we're going to get into like how dating apps are for hookups and how we all need to get the fuck off of them.
And get outside.
Yeah.
So the next poll we asked you guys was, how do you feel about dating apps? And 48% of y'all said, I don't use them at all. 24% said, I use them for hookups only. 19% said, I have them but don't really use them. And 9% said, I use them to find my next partner. And there you have it, folks. That's the reason everyone's done with dating apps. Most people don't use them at all, but then most people that do use them are trying to hook up, or they just download it for funsies and never check it. I mean, I definitely do that. Like,
Yeah.
I have my Hinge open. Like, am I checking it every day? No. When I first downloaded it, was I? Yeah, probably. But then it gets old and
yeah.
I'm kind of like, wait, everyone on here is kind of whack. And I did meet that one guy that I talked to you about, like,
Shout out if he's listening.
Shout out if he's listening, but he's like the best thing that happened from that. Like, literally,
And
like,
you still haven't met him in person.
I know, but that's my fault. I should have by this point, and like, honestly, I feel like he probably hates
Ask her
me,
on a
though.
date.
Like,
Give her a date and a time, and she
he
will
like
go.
has.
Okay.
He has.
All right, well-
like, he's literally been like, "Can you please pencil me the fuck in?" And I'm like, I have plenty of time. I'm just lazy. But no, it'll happen. I mean, he's literally like, yeah. Okay, but anyways, so that's crazy. And then someone submitted a story and said, I've been banned from every major and obscure dating app except Grindr and Hinge. And I'm so glad someone said this because, like, I mean, I relate. I've been banned from a lot, but I'm not really going to get into why. But it's not just me, though. Like, so many people, you hear a lot of people have been banned. It's like, y'all want us to pay so bad, but yet you're banning your real people. Like, I'm
Right.
not fake. Why are you banning me?
Yeah,
And
that's
then you have
crazy.
to email them and be like, please accept me back. Like, it's really humiliating. And that's what they make you do. And if you email them too many times, they're like, please only email us one request. And then it makes you feel even more bad about yourself. So, yeah, I'm glad someone brought that up, though.
Okay.
You have anything to say?
Never been in that position, but yeah, that's rough. Next we asked you guys, we wanted to know, where have you met most of your hookups? 43% of you guys said dating app / social media. We threw the little slash in there because, you know, Instagram, Twitter, whatnot. 28% through friends / social events, also tied 28% at randomly out, and only 1% at work. So again, reiterates, most people are meeting their hookups just off of like the online shit, because it's like you see them visually, you don't really know them, like whatever. And we had one person submit a story that said, I hooked up at Hollister with my coworker while we were closing. That's kind of hot.
That's hot.
I would watch
That's
that
so
porno.
hot. That's goals. I'd watch that porno too, especially the end of the night at work.
Yeah.
Like, you really need that release real quick. Like, and I'm all about a workplace crush, honestly. Like,
Right.
it really is great.
And
I've
it
had a lot
smells
of
good
them.
in there. Like, I'm just,
Yeah, and it is how to
It's
meet people. Like,
dark.
honestly, I've like met like crushes from work so much because I don't leave the house. So it's like, that's my only time to socialize. Like, it's really like, it's funny. I mean, 1% said it, I guess, but I know. And I feel like the emphasis on dating apps / social media, because like people really do be like sliding into DMs on Instagram. Like, Instagram is like somewhat of a dating app within itself.
Yeah.
It's just like not designed as such. And then the next poll that we asked you guys is, you know, instead of hookups, where have you met most of your relationship partners? People that you've met that you've started like more of a serious vibe with. And 48% for this one said through friends or social events. 25% said dating apps or social media. 20% said when they were out. And 7% said work this time. So I think it's interesting that, you know, the social events, IRL, like dating in the wild, won for that one. Where for when you're looking for hookups, it's like, yeah, it's just an Instagram hoe, like whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's funny. What did you vote for? Because for me, it was random. I was between, I don't know, because I did meet one long-term partner from a dating app, from Tinder, but I was in London. That was the one I met in London. So it was a little different because I wasn't from there. I didn't know like where to go out. Like, I was like more trying to meet people. But all of my other partners were either through friends, and then the one I'm with now and my last one were randomly out. Like, granted, the one now, like, we have mutual friends, and we actually, like, the first time we met was randomly out, but the second time where we, like, kind of reconnected again was, like, at a friend's house, like, a pregame. So
Yeah.
it was, like, we were in the same circles, but I think that's the best way, really.
Yeah, I feel like for relationships, like, my first relationship was, like, we went to the same school, like, we met each, so it's, like, kind of work. It's, like, it was through, like, what we were pursuing. Second one was randomly out. Third one was dating app. And then the fourth one was work again. So it's like school work, but The randomly out is definitely like my favorite kind of story because like it's so memorable. Like that girlfriend I met like when we were out, like I could like relive that. I could tell you what paintings were on the walls. Like it was very like fairy tale. Like it was a meet cute. Like we found each other literally on the dance floor.
Way.
I know. I felt like, oh my God. And then like, yeah, and you know how I am when I'm out, so I was kind of like being extra, but then she like was like waiting for me outside, was like, oh, I thought you left, but really I was just like mingling. But anyways, it's just the best way. But I did meet my ex-boyfriend from Bumble. Like we matched on Bumble. So it's crazy. Like I had Bumble back then. Like it's so wild to me that that's where I met him. And then we went to the Instagram DMs, like didn't get the number right away. Like we were Instagramming. So it was kind of a combination of that. Like our relationship started in Instagram DMs through voice memos, like literally.
Okay, voice memos is a little better.
Yeah, definitely. Like voice memos is great. For sure, bro. I mean, we were sexting, but yeah, I think it's kind of just like, I don't think there's any right way to like meet your relationship person, but I do think if you're really serious about it, like try to go to some social events because with the apps, it's just so unclear. And obviously on person it is too, but at least you can like feel their energy and like be in front of them, you know?
Yeah, because I met my ex, which obviously the relationship didn't work out, but literally like in the city, like he asked me for a lighter. And like that was like, it was a short interaction. Like this guy that I'm with now, I was actually out with Autumn. I don't even really remember the interaction, but like he held the camera for us when we were
I was there.
Like we were shooting vlog stuff and like, I don't know.
This man has met me and I didn't meet him.
Right. I didn't even remember until he reminded me at like a friend's house, but we had been following each other. So I knew who he was from Instagram, but I didn't remember that was when I met him. But I don't know, like, I feel like there's something about, like, meeting someone in person. It's, like, the allure, the pheromones, like, you see them. Versus, like, online, it's just this, like, curated image of them. And, like, especially with guys, it's, like, their photos sometimes, unless they're, like, a fashion dude, but even then still, sometimes they can give ick. Like,
then
it's
they're
just
like
hard.
edited.
And I'm sure they say the same thing about girls. Like, I find that when I'm, like, on the dating apps with, like, women, I don't like, when there's a ton of filters and stuff like that because I'm like, I don't really know what you look like. You know? So it's, like, it's just, like, online, it's just so far removed versus, like, when you're at work, when you're in person, when you're at social events, it's, like, I, like, see you. I could reach out and, like, touch you. Like, there's a chemical thing going on.
Yeah, and it's, like, I feel like dating app culture has truly made people yearn for that in-person meet cute when it's, like, if we can remember, like, that used to be all there was. Like,
right.
Besides, like, matchmaking that's, like, in people's cultures and all of that, of course. But, like, the online matchmaking space is, like, different. So it's just like we really all like every girl I talk to, like it's like they're yearning for a meet cute. That's what they want. They want to meet someone at a coffee shop, in the park, even at a bar, like anywhere that's just in person, you know?
Yeah.
And I think dating apps has made that us yearn for that like very badly and like to our detriment where we feel like we like it's like I remember with my ex-boyfriend when we met on Bumble, we like once we started getting more serious, like I forget what it was now, but we like made up a meet cute to tell people how we met because we didn't want to say that it was
Yes,
Bumble.
I think me and my ex did that too because we met on Tinder and we like planned to meet up. We met at like a bus stop, but then we like walked around all night and I swear we had made up like something else too because it's like that's
because we were like no,
it's embarrassing. Like I don't know.
It's not even embarrassing. It's just kind of like, oh, you're so like it's so technology. Like we met on a stupid app. Like I mean, it's embarrassing too. But yeah, I know it's like it's just wouldn't prefer it. But let's get into some listener stories, guys. This one listener submitted a story and said, not gonna lie, met my boyfriend through Grindr and been together nearly 2 years now, LOL. After we hooked up on Grindr, I saw his Tinder and swiped and it said it was a match with the tongue face and the money tongue face. Exactly. Like people really do meet through these dating apps. Like and I think I think it's called getting lucky. I don't think they're setting us up truly for success. I think
and you're also like predispositioned because you already like met them. Like I had actually experienced that. Like when I did have multiple, I think the only time was in college, but like I would see the same person on multiple dating apps. Also, I would have the dating apps and then like delete them for a while and get back on, and you see the same people, and I'd be like, damn, they still haven't found someone like, you know.
Bro, like I feel like we all know, like I swear to God, there's like one bitch that like you consistently see on dating apps. Like I swear to God, like there's been people I've matched with multiple times, like we don't message each other either of the times. Like
yes,
that definitely happens.
I have a girl like that, yes.
And like I'm not gonna lie, like when I match with someone, like honestly, the reason I don't message them is because I'm like, what was I thinking?
Right.
Like, what was I genuinely thinking? And so I'm like, is that why people don't message me? Like that's
or
so
I'm just
scary.
like, I don't really know what I want out of this. I'm just looking. I'm just
like
browsing.
I don't even know what to say. Like
do
I
I
don't
really
want to
want
meet up with you.
Yeah, like I don't know.
But if we really wanted to find our wife or our husband or our partner, we would want to meet up with them.
But like,
and that's why,
yeah, because like even when I met my ex, he didn't have much in his profile. I was just like, I just want to like go do something. I'm in London right now. I just want to go.
I just want to like.
And then, like, I happened to fall in love with him through stuff. It wasn't like I was going into the date like, oh, I want to be, like, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think a lot of people are like that. Like, we're not really thinking because we're like, it's so quick when you're swiping. You're not really.
And I really think, like, the biggest time people download dating apps is, like, after a breakup. Because, like, I remember, like, when I first moved to LA, I was going through a breakup with this girl. That's why I probably had Bumble of all of them. And that's why I met him, because I remember I matched with my ex, like, on fucking Hinge or something. And I messaged her a sad face because I'm pathetic. And then she literally replied and was like, oh, my God. Like, because, like, she was kind of a bitch at the end of it. But it was funny. But it's, like, I feel like it's, like, that sort of, like, you want that quick gratification, which comes back to the whole commodification of dating.
Yeah. This person said, I walk dogs and I fell in love with one of the valet guys at work. This is so cute. This is actually one of my, like, very close friends, so I know their love story, like, personally. And the first time she hung out with him was because I made her come out to this bar with him, and she invited him. And that was, like, the first time they, like, really...
Who the fuck is this? Tell me after.
The who walks dogs and is, like, one of my only, like, close friends in Atlanta.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's... Oh.
Yeah. So,
because my mind went to your friend from high school. I don't know why, because she submits a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But she doesn't walk dogs. I don't know what she does.
Yeah, but I think it's funny because I've talked to her about this before because she doesn't have dating apps, and I always had them similarly. Like, I feel like when I get out of a relationship or when I just want, like, a dopamine hit, like an ego boost. But, like, for the nature of her work, like, she's always walking dogs. So, like, she gets hit on all the time because she's just out and about. Like, there's so many guys, you know?
And
so
dogs
it's like,
are total, like, dogs make you look better,
they're
too.
a
Like,
magnet.
dogs are cute. Like, it's honestly. And she I bet she looks hot as fuck. She's, like, out there.
No, that's what she always jokes about, though. She's like, I'm literally in my, like, sweatpants and, like, whatever, no makeup. But it doesn't matter, guys. Like, and that's why it's so important to just be the fuck outside. Like, I get hit on all the time when I just walk to the corner store, like, a couple blocks away to get cigarettes. Like, not the best suitors. But
maybe it could be.
It could be. Like, I mean, my ex was not the best example, but I met him walking on the street. Like, I know, like, the pandemic has pushed us inside, like, a lot. And, like, the only thing we can think of is really to go to the bars. And, like, especially we don't drive. So it's like, I don't know where I'm going in the middle of the day besides, like, just for a stroll.
I'm,
but,
like, sweating on the side of the street.
Yeah.
Walking.
Like, why don't, like, just go out. Like, just go out and walk. I don't know.
I know. Literally. Just get outside. And honestly, like, just getting outside, touching grass, like, putting on an outfit, looking confident. Like, I promise you will attract people.
Yes.
As you do that.
Yes.
This next listener said, I got lucky and met my ex as a roommate. Got to know him so well and see how he lives. I made a move when I was moving out. LOL. Highly recommend. if you're moving. In all capital letters.
That is so fucking funny because I feel like I actually had a roommate before that was a guy that I did hook up with later when I didn't
But much later.
Much later. But
like a different
I feel
era.
like there is something about like having a roommate. Like
yeah, this, you guys, she had to walk through this man's room to get to her room.
Like every time I had to go to the bathroom, take a shower, I had to walk through this room. Because it was in Boston where it's like there's not much like, you know, like space or whatever. So we changed like a 3-bedroom into like a 4-bedroom, like whatever. But yeah, I feel like I built sexual tension just because I was bored. And this was not like someone I really would have fucked otherwise.
Well, honestly, with both of them, they were both kind of down.
Who's the both?
It was 2 dudes.
Oh, yeah, the other one. The other one had a girlfriend who, like, hated me for some reason just for existing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the next one said, I met my baby daddy on Tinder. I'm suing them for trauma. Parentheses, jokes. Literally, like, I feel you because it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, especially Tinder. Like, you know what I mean? But I know we really. I think you should sue them. I honestly do. I think you should blame them because this is a massive problem.
Right?
Okay?
Like what the fuck? But yeah, I just want to wrap it up with this last little couple stats. So according to Pew Research Center, only 1 in 10 adults actually meet their significant other on dating apps. And then this other article says Gen Z and millennials have long blasted the dating app experience on TikTok and other social media. The generational shift is real, with 79% of college students and other Gen Zers are forgoing regular dating app usage and instead opting for in-person interactions, according to Axis and Generation Lab study on October 2023. So yeah, we're over it, guys.
Yeah, we're over it. And I hear this all the time. Like, this is echoed in, like, everyone I talk to that's single. It's like they really just want that in-person thing. And if the dating apps weren't there, like, the reality is we wouldn't want it as bad as we do right now. We want it because there's this hurdle and there's all these new ways that aren't necessarily productive to really meet people. But I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I guess I'll just download the app. Like, you know,
right.
It's just like,
easy. It's lazy. Like, it's just at our fingertips.
And it's desperate. It's like, okay, well, I guess it's like I'm not meeting anyone in person. Like, I guess I'll try this, you know? But it's like,
and
I've
had people, sorry to cut you off, but I've had people that I had matched with, like, when I first got out of my relationship, matched with on Hinge, never, like, talked to, and then came to know through going out. And then they were predispositioned to think that I want them, but then I met them in person and I was like, oh, fuck no. Like, I would not
that
be
happens
with them
all the time.
But you're desperate, you know?
You're desperate, and it's like not even desperate for love, but sometimes it's just like desperate for connection, like desperate for the chance, like for falling in love. But then it's like you see them and it's just like not what you wanted, and not even like they're ugly, but it's hard to tell how people are really going to be. You don't know how long ago those pictures was. Like, someone hasn't taken a picture from the last year.
I've
like,
had
they're not
that.
going to. Yeah, like that happens all the time, you know? Like, the part of me wants to put some of my college pics on there, but I don't, okay? Like, I'm like, it has to be, like, within the past, like, 6 to 8 months, like, literally. Because also, don't you want them to know what you really look like? Like, why? Like, isn't that scary to be like, oh, well, now they match this, like, filtered girl, and I'm obviously not that. Like, we can't compete with filters. It's not real. Like, but yeah, it's crazy and it's sad. But I do think, like, getting outside is, like, really the best thing to do. And, like, just to, like I know we keep saying, like, social events. It's like, what really is that? But it's like Google shit in your area. Like, there is stuff. And, like, you think it's, like, lame. And, like, even my mom keeps telling me to, like, join a book club so I can, like, read more and, like, meet people. And I'm like, Mom, like, please. But, like, honestly, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, it really isn't. Maybe someone in the book club has a hot cousin that's really single and perfectly my type. Like, maybe.
There was actually, like, when I was doing research, I didn't include it in this episode, but there was this guy, he's, like, a vlogger or something in New York, and he was, like, trying to, like, dive into the dating apps and see, like, if they were good. He made a profile. He had all these women help him, like, his friends, whatever. His goal was to get a date by the end of the week, okay? He didn't succeed in getting a date, but he ended up going through these girlfriends that helped him make his profile, they invited him to a sewing class. He met a girl at the sewing class and went on 2 dates with her and was really excited about it. Like, but he wouldn't have like done that if he hadn't reached out to them to help him with his profile and like whatever.
Like, you
so
gotta
it's like
put yourself out
you
there.
gotta like, you know, and even like we said with the story about walking the dogs or whatever, like just go for a walk. Like, just, like, go to Target. Like, meander around some aisles.
Or go lay down in the grass. Like, I saw this quote the other day that was like, I used to, like, lay in bed when I'm sad and listen to Lana Del Rey, but now I dress up and, like, go lay in the park and, like, take selfies or just, like, feel good. It's like, is this healing? And it's like, it is. And, like, I'm telling you, like, that type of energy will attract people your way. And also be safe. Like, if you're a woman, don't go out at night. If you're female presenting, whatever the fuck, like, be safe. But, like, during the day's great. Like, chipper in the morning. Like, we got this, guys. It'll be fine. So, we're now going to move into our wrap-up segment where we talk about what we're so wet, dry, and also maybe still a little bit confused about the topic. So, I will get us started. I mean, this is honestly, you guys, this is kind of a hard one to be wet about. Like, all I can really think of is that I'm, like, wet that Gen Z's, like, not, like, falling victim as much to this shit anymore. And, like, the marketing tactics and everything. Like, I'm wet that people are kind of waking up in that sense. Like, even when it just comes to, like, you know, advertisements online. And then also, like, companies like this that try to get money out of you and don't really make the app as accessible as they make it to seem. Like, it's, you know, because it's not. If you're not really getting, like, the best people or the most compatible people, it's like, why are we doing this? So I'm definitely wet about that. I'm wet that we're, like, honestly covering this. Like, I feel like I did learn a lot, and, like, I haven't really, like, thought about dating apps, like, in this way ever as kind of, like, companies, and maybe because, like, I haven't paid for them a lot and it's kind of just like a game. But what we do, and I do talk so much about, is that they look like games and the gamification of it all. But I'm definitely wet that we're, like, deep diving this, and I'm excited to get more into the AI stuff as well. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely wet about the same, like, Gen Z, like, learning, like, seeing through all of this stuff, like, all of the backlash from women, like, using their voices and being like, fuck this campaign. All of that, I think, was great. Like, I went such into a deep hole of research for this episode. There were so many TikToks that, we could have included, but we just chose not to because there's been so many other people covering it, which I think is just a good thing because we're all hip to it.
Agreed.
I'm definitely wet about, you know, just, like, getting outside, like, our polls showing that, like, more people are meeting their partners through, like, actual social events. It just proves the point more that we need to get off of this stuff. And yeah, I guess I'm just wet about, like, us knowing about it. Like, that's really
I know, there's really not too much to be wet about.
Yeah.
Like, this definitely was an episode where we were kind of, like, uncovering this information that isn't, like, readily available to us, like, besides, like, the Bumble campaign that was, like, in our face and like all this stuff. But I mean, I don't know, like, I doubt so many people know about the whole journey and, like, the face of Bumble and that a guy was behind it and Mykonos.
Well,
and all
I
that
will
shit.
say, like, I'm a little wet about, even as fucked up as the campaign is, like, at least it's lifting the veil of, like, they're being a little more straightforward.
They really are.
You know? So, like, I guess that, like, even though the whole campaign is dry as fuck, I'm at least wet about, like, they're being more authentic. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for dry, I mean, like, the obvious is just, like, all of it and, like, the commodification of dating, the state we're living in. But it's, like, more specifically, like, I definitely think the Bumble, the women have to message first, the sort of feminist that's not really feminist type of vibe, like, that definitely, like, sucks, you know, just another one of those situations. Happens all the time at this point, but definitely dry about that whole situation specifically. And I think just overall dry about this, like, cultural shift that we're in, because it's like, you think about the history of matchmaking, like what we started with the episode. It's like, yes, it is still kind of capitalistic, but, like, it's fine. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem that bad. Yeah. Well, in my opinion. And then, but I think putting it on the apps and, like, making it so, like, like accessible and just like everywhere, and it's like become like the only way to find someone or whatever. Like I think that this whole state that we're living in is like horrible. I just mean like with the matchmaking, like I mean, I don't know like that much about like cultures and like all the different types of matchmaking. Like I'm not really talking about that, but just like going online with those websites and like filling out a thorough questionnaire. Like I don't think anything's, because then it's like obviously you really want to do it if you're like taking the time, you know?
I definitely agree. Like the ones that are like more of a matchmaking process where it's like you're filling out prompts, you're putting all this stuff, like matchmaking as an industry, I think I'm still a little bit dry about, just because of like all the religious, like racial, ethnic, like social status, all of those things behind it. Like it seems like a way to like keep society functioning in the systems that it's been functioning in, and I would think that the algorithms are doing that as well. Dry about the whole like business aspect of things, and like how they're literally like getting us addicted to these apps, how it's like created such a like confusing environment for dating for us, because it's just like, I don't know, like this is what we grew up with. Like as soon as I was old enough, I was ready to fucking download Tinder, and I don't think that's like taught us how to date in the best way. So like dry about all of that, dry about that fucking Russian billionaire, dry about the campaign, like dry about a whole bunch in this episode, honestly.
And I feel like it's like, rightfully so, it's like still confused on like where to really go from here, because like yes, like getting outside and like being more immersed in the world, and like I do believe that if you want to find someone and take dating seriously, like you can't just sit back. Like you do have to like prioritize it, unfortunately, and like put yourself out there in a situation to meet people. But it's just like, it's just still so hard, like dating just in general right now. And I think it's like, especially as women that like do have that societal pressure to like find someone before they're 30 or like whatever, which is like such complete bullshit. Like obviously I don't think you need to do that, but it's like, I don't know, it's just stressful. And I wish like we had more of an answer for you guys, but it's kind of just like, we all need to just like figure it out together. And I don't know if like boycott, like I would love to boycott the apps, and we all just like get off
I'm
the
not
apps.
on them.
Like
right,
like I'm like, I really don't think it's like necessary to meet people, but at the same time, you know, people have, you know, but I would argue it's like, well, the people that met on Bumble, like it's like they could have just met on Instagram too. Like I don't know. For confused. So where do we go?
Where do we go? Yeah, I'm confused about a lot. So, like, first, I'm confused about, like, where they're going, where the state of dating apps is going, and, like, if they're going to be able to be more transparent, if there's a new dating app that's going to, like, fill this gap in the market. Like, I think the business side of things is very interesting to me.
Like, maybe,
Like, how are we going to address this? Because I think people are still going to want to have apps and, like, meet people online. I think I'm also... I don't know, like, as someone who does marketing for a living, like, this whole thing, like, I get so fascinated by these company deep dives, because, like, working in marketing, there's such a disconnect so much of the time between, like, usually marketing people are creative. They're storytellers. They, like, are more in touch with the current culture, and they're very disconnected from the product side of things. And, like, I think that's where, like, a lot of, like, art school people have, like, ended up in marketing, because, like, there's no other real place for you to make money. So, like, I guess I'm confused about, like, what the future of, like, marketing is. And, like, it makes me really think about, like, I know in my job I try to practice, like, actually telling storytelling that is truthful, and how we can, like, do that and market dating apps in a way that's, like, actually transparent, because I think that's what Gen Z really wants. And also managing those two audiences of, like, you're marketing to customers, but, like, you're also marketing to, like, businesses. That's confusing to me. Also, the side of things with Whitney Wolfe Herd, like, she's a very interesting person to me. One, because, you know, she's a white woman. She's a CEO. She built this $1 billion business. She's very successful by every, like, means of the word. And, like, she was a marketing person. Like, I think in a lot of ways she was taken advantage of. So, like, is she to blame? Is she not? Like, the whole girl boss era, like, all of that is so confusing to me. Like, for women to progress and to get to a place where we would have an app that was actually funded for the purpose of, like, building women and like dating on our terms, all of that, would that even be possible in the 2010s without it being funded by a misogynistic ass man? I don't think it would have been, you know? So it's like, I don't think like you say, the Matrix and all this stuff, like what perfect world, like maybe I feel like this stuff had to have happened for us to like think the future and beyond. So like that's kind of confusing to me. And lastly, I don't know. I guess just like how you said, like, what do we do about this? Like, do we boycott all of them? Do we still use them? I think there's still a place for them. Like, we still want hookups, like all of that. But
and I'm not even sure that there could be a successful like dating app that Gen Z wants. Like, I'm confused on whether that's even fucking possible, honestly.
Yeah.
Like how to do that. Like, you know, like I really don't know if it could even be done, but it's a lot. Like, honestly, this episode like has been heavy in a sense because we're talking about these businesses and marketing, but at the center of the whole thing, it's like finding love
and it's
like
real
dating
people and their love
and it's
lives.
real people, so it kind of gets a little heavy. But let us know what you guys thought about this episode. We obviously hoped you liked it, hoped you learned stuff. We obviously for sure did learn stuff. So let us know if you liked it. If you're watching and listening on YouTube, make sure you do comment and subscribe and leave us a comment. You know, any feedback, like anything you just want to share. Like, we love to engage with y'all in the comments. And if you're listening on another platform, make sure you follow. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or iTunes, or 4-star, like whatever, we're fine. We would love to have you guys join our community of confused pussies. We're on Instagram and TikTok at So Wet So Dry. The O's are zeros. So make sure you follow us there. Yeah.
Yes, and also, even if you guys are not listening on Spotify, the only way we have to support us right now, we don't have a Patreon, but we do have Spotify listener support. At the bottom in the description of every single episode, no matter what platform you're on, we have 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99 a month. Like we talked about earlier in this episode, it gets iffy as a creator. Like, we don't really want to work with Bumble right now. Not that they would really want to work with us. Our audience isn't big enough. But, you know, support from you guys is really huge. We love you so much. Rate us 5 stars, all of those things. Comment, let us know what you think. We love you, and we will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Some women looking at you lesser if there's tears on your cheek, but if there's tears tattooed, that same girl is a freak. Ooh. So they're attracted to the pain unless they hear the pain speak. So it's like, it's really interesting because when you talk to women, thank you. But it's like when you talk to women and you like kind of see where their head's at, you see that they kind of like, a lot of women want this sort of rough and rugged guy who's like, he's tough and all these things, but like you don't want him to talk about it because now he's soft. But it's like, so you want him to have some pain, because that's what makes him the rough and rugged, you know, but you just don't want to hear about it. And so where does he go then? And so you just want him to be quiet, but then you're wondering why he can't open up to you. Oh, well, he just doesn't open up to me. Which one is it? This isn't Build-A-Bear.